Hey guys, I'm back with another video for my channel. I'm so excited about this video today. This is something that I'm very passionate about, which is motherhood. I haven't really talked that much about motherhood on my channel yet. I talked about my twin pregnancy more, but I've kind of just been in the thick of motherhood. I have 15-month-old twin boys, and I just feel like it's just kind of crazy right now having two toddlers. So I haven't really sat down to like reflect about it that much or talk about it, but I'm doing that today. And I just felt like I have my laptop with me and I was like typing out ideas and notes on this topic. And I just had like so many, like, I don't know, just felt so much passion about this. So I'm really excited to share kind of what I came up with for you guys today. The topic of this video is what I wish I would have known as a new mom. Now, I know I'm very much still in the new mom phase. I've only been a mom for 15 months, like, you know, taking care of them wise. But I feel like this is more kind of about those first 3 to 6 months. And I know my situation is maybe a little unique just because I had, you know, twins. So it's 2 babies instead of 1. But that being said, also my twins are taking a nap. So any like little thing I hear like outside on the street, I'm like, are they awake? So I have the baby monitor there. So if you see me looking over there, it's because I'm just making sure they're still asleep, which they are. Okay, so first I wanted to talk, well, I guess first a disclaimer. So I'm gonna be talking about postpartum mental health and a little bit about birth trauma. Those are 2 things that I kind of struggled with in my experience. I'm gonna be pretty honest about some of the hard parts of postpartum, but I also want to talk about the beautiful good parts as well and the hopeful, because I feel like there's a lot more good and hopefulness, but I also think it wouldn't be true of me to not talk about the parts that have been very challenging as well. So I just want to be honest. I don't know, I feel like it's such a touchy subject. I feel like motherhood is such a raw, emotional thing at times. And you don't want to like scare new moms and be like, oh, these horrible things. So that's not really what I'm here to do. But at the same time, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and just be like, yeah, new motherhood was so easy, piece of cake. Because I don't think that's honest. And I don't know, maybe that's some people's experience, but that was definitely not mine. So I'm just sharing mine. So yeah, I will be pretty honest about some of the hard parts. And I just want to put that out there. So if you feel like that might be triggering, then just probably best to skip this video. But I also have some really like, I feel like beautiful, hopeful things to share as well. So, okay, so first I wanted to start and just talk a little bit about my experience and story with those like early postpartum days. I did a whole video about my birth story. So if you want like a longer version of it, then that's on here as well. But basically I had my twins at 36 weeks. I had preeclampsia. I had postpartum preeclampsia. That's something that I'd really like to get the word out about more, is that preeclampsia does not always end with delivery, and it's not common, it's pretty rare, but it can like if your blood pressure is already rising like during delivery, it can continue to rise in the week following, and that was my case. So I just want to get the word out there that because I think it's something really important, and I want other people to be aware of that. So my blood pressure rose really, really high 3 days post-delivery. I think it got to like 170 over 110. And at that point they had to, I was in the hospital already, obviously, but they had to like bring me down to another floor to do a magnesium treatment. And it was definitely really rough. I think I was really scared for like my own health. Like, am I going to be okay? Why are they not able to control my blood pressure with all this medication? Like, it was just really scary. And then I had to be placed on blood pressure medication for 6 weeks postpartum, and which I'll get into that a little bit later. So that combined with one of my sons was also in the NICU for a week, which I know a lot of people have their babies in the NICU for a lot longer than a week, but I really think any time in the NICU is kind of traumatic, or can be extremely traumatic. Just not really knowing what's going on. Your baby's hooked up to all these wires. Like, it can just be a really, really like hard on your mental health. Like, I just remember when I went into the NICU to visit my son, I like bawled my eyes out every time I got in, and every time I left. I was embarrassed because there's all these nurses around I didn't know. But I was just like so emotional, and I felt really like sad that I was upstairs in one room with my son Dominic, who didn't have to be in the NICU, and then my son Leo was 7 floors down in a completely different you know, unit from us. And it was just awful. Like, my heart was just crushed to that my son was not able to be with us. And I would just hold him and be like, it's okay, buddy. Like, you're doing great. Just keep getting stronger. Keep passing all your tests. Like, you have a brother upstairs named Dominic and he loves you and we can't wait for all of us to be together again as a family. Like, it just honestly makes me want to cry now thinking of, because I was just like really devastated that Max and I were upstairs and like I couldn't even be down with my son in the NICU as much as I wanted to, because I had to be upstairs taking care of my other son, and every time I went down I had to put my other son in the nursery because he wasn't allowed to go to the NICU. So it's just like really a lot of stress and a lot of like guilt as a mom. And then when I got home from the hospital, I was so relieved. I was just like, get me out of this hospital. I'm so done. I literally had a blood pressure cuff on my arm the entire week that I was there, going off every 15 minutes. And I like couldn't sleep all night because I was so uncomfortable, just like covered in wires and hooked up to all these machines. I was just like, get me home. And I literally didn't sleep that first week. Not because my son wasn't sleeping, because he was sleeping, you know, pretty well for a newborn, the one who was in the room with us. I literally only slept like an hour to an hour and a half just because of how many machines were on me and how incredibly uncomfortable I was. And I think the blood pressure medicine was messing with me as well, because I felt just like really uncomfortable. And I remember I had like tremors, my hands were like shaking, and I would try to lift up my cup of water like when I was in the hospital, like the postpartum unit, and I would just literally spill the water all over my gown, and I had to keep getting like stacks of new gowns because my water, like I kept thinking, oh, I'll get it this time, and then it just would spill again. So anyway, and then just like a lot of weird symptoms from the blood pressure medication. My body did not handle it well. So I went home, and I have my two new babies who are at this point, like they were like 6 and 5 pounds. And so you lose a little bit of weight. So they're even smaller than that at like when I took them home. They were just like tiny guys, so tiny. Like I should put a picture or something. I don't even know how to put a picture in a YouTube video, but maybe I could just like post one on my story or something. But they were just like the tiniest little guys. And it was just like, I was afraid because I was like, I don't want to hurt them. They're just so small and so fragile. And it's just like, people have said this before, but like, it feels so weird that the hospital, they're just like, okay, here you go. Take this baby, or in my case, take these babies. Time to take care of them on your own. You're just like, am I qualified for this? It just feels like kind of scary. And I remember we got back from the hospital. We were so excited and just so relieved to be home. And for that first night, I remember I got a 4-hour stretch of sleep, and I was like, I am a new woman. Like, I've never slept as well in my life because I only slept like an hour every night that I was in the hospital. So I felt really good being home. But like we got home and my sisters had come and cleaned up our house. My friend had come and like she'd like decorated, and they had like a meal ready for us, which was so sweet. And we just felt like, wow, we have so much support. We can do this. It was great. And I was on this high. And then that first night home, everyone left, and it was just me and my husband and the twins. And they were both screaming, and my husband's like, well, I really need a shower. And I was like, I need a shower too. And I was like, okay, let's take shifts. So like he went upstairs to shower, and I was just by myself with these two tiny little screaming babies. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it just hit me. I was like, wait, I have to take care of them 24/7. Like, can I do this? Like, how am I gonna do this? Like, in a moment, I just kind of panicked, and it was like the world was like caving in on me, because I was like, just the thought of like 24/7, I was like, how am I ever gonna like do anything? Like, if I need to make a meal or like take a shower, like what about when Max is at work for most of the day? Like, what am I supposed to do? So it's just like, that was really scary to kind of like have that set in and be like, what am I gonna do? And this might be a uniquely twin mom thing, this part of it, but like, I will say like, and again, I'm going into the harder stuff, but there's also good stuff as well coming. But I will say one of the hardest things in those early 3 to 6 months for me was, so my husband is a personal trainer, and a couple days a week he goes early and opens the gym, and he's gone at like 4 a.m. So I'm on my own for the rest of the night until like, the sun rises. And I just remember there was like a few nights where I had both the babies. My husband was gone. They would both wake up like screaming, and I just like would start panicking because I felt like such an inadequate mom. Like, it was really hard for me to pick them both up at the same time like when they were so small, it was just like they were so fragile and I was afraid I didn't want to hurt them or like hold them improperly. When they got older, it got a lot easier. But anyway, so like that was just some of the struggles that I had in those early days. And that was kind of like, I guess, the hard part. So basically, I wanted to say one of the biggest things I wanted to say that I wish I knew as a new mom was that it truly gets easier every single month. For me, it started out so incredibly hard. I felt like I was pushed to the limit. I felt like I was like maxed out, like just constantly like in survival mode. But every single month, I felt like I got a little bit calmer, a little bit more like grounded, and a little bit more confident in myself as a mom. So I think that's one of the things I want to say to you is like, it might be hard in the beginning, and I'm sure it will, because it's just a big life transition. It's a big adjustment, but it will get easier every single month. It's going to get a little bit easier. You're going to start putting these pieces together. So like, I feel like the big things are like naps / sleep and feeding. And you are going to try a million different things and you're going to figure out what works for you. I nursed my twins for 11 months and I also supplemented with formula because I didn't produce enough for both of them. And that took a long time to get really comfortable with like nursing and pumping and like what's, you know, how does it all fit together? Like, when do I nurse? When do I pump? When do I give them the bottles? Like, but I figured it out. And I remember like, it was probably a couple months in, like 3 months, when I was like, wow, I actually kind of have a good routine down. This is really awesome. I actually did a whole video on like my nursing, pumping, all that. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. But it just all comes together. Sleep was another thing that was really difficult. Especially with twins, this might be probably a unique twin experience, but like it's hard because you're putting them both down and they kind of wake each other up. So you're just like, you get one down and then the other one starts crying and then the other one wakes up because they hear the other one. Now, eventually they do actually start to tune out the other one's cry and they're able to sleep through it. That actually ended up happening a lot more as they got older and just used to it. But it was really tricky figuring that out. Like, how do I get them both to sleep, especially when I'm on my own? Like, it was just like, what the heck do I do? I kind of want to make a whole video about that, especially with twins. It took a while, but I think I have some tips and tricks on how to get twins to sleep when you're on your own. So yeah, I just want to say it gets easier and you're going to figure out what works for you. And then another big thing that I've learned is that, well, I feel like this is very cliche, but it's absolutely 100,000 million% okay to ask for help. And this is, I'm probably going to be a little sassy with this, but I get kind of annoyed sometimes because I'm in these Facebook groups. Other moms will leave comments and stuff. Again, no hate or anything. I'm not trying to, criticize other moms. And I think this comes from a very well-meaning place. But I'll see these moms asking for help and being like, how am I supposed to get, housework done or make meals or anything? And then people will respond and just be like, the days are long, but the years are short. Enjoy this time, mama. Enjoy the snuggles. It's like, okay, yes, those statements are not wrong. I don't disagree with them. But at the same time, these moms they're saying, I need to get housework done. I don't think they're trying to deep clean their shower. I think that they're trying to be like, I need to get dinner on the table. We have to eat a meal tonight. I need to occasionally clean my bathroom so I'm not living in filth. I need to do my laundry so that we can have clean clothes to wear. Like, there are some pretty basic chores that you have to get done. And not everyone has the luxury of having like family nearby or even being able to afford childcare. So I don't know. I just want to kind of put that out there that like, if you're feeling like I need like a minute to myself, I just would like a little bit of help, like someone hold the baby for a little bit so that I can put the laundry in and get dinner on the table. Like, that is totally valid. And like, sometimes babies don't like baby carriers. Sometimes you can't hold them 24/7. So it's just something that I've personally have a little bit of a bone to pick is like, I think that yes, it's great to hold your baby a lot. It's great to be a hands-on mom 100%, but you also need some time to get the things done that you have to do as a human being, and that is okay. And I just want to say, like, there's no shame or guilt in that. And I had to really realize that, like, I think that is the number one thing I've struggled with as a new mom is mom guilt. I feel like people talk about that and I just feel it. It's like this 100-pound elephant sitting on my back at all times. And I have to constantly be like, okay, let me try to take this thing off, take this thing off. Like, it's so like natural for me to feel really guilty as a mom and feel like I'm always falling short. And I know there's a lot of other moms that feel that way as well. So I just want to say, from one mom who struggles with that guilt to if anyone else out there does as well, like, you don't need to feel guilty. You're a great mom, and your baby's gonna be okay if you put them down for a few minutes to get something done. Like, I had to realize that because there was time where I would not eat for hours upon hours because I was holding the twins, or I was kind of switching off, holding one at a time, the other one would be sleeping. And I literally wouldn't eat because I was like, how am I supposed to go make a meal when I have two little babies that both want, a lot of times I hold them both. I was like, I literally don't have a free hand. And if I put them down, they're gonna cry. So I just wouldn't eat for hours and I would be starving. And I kind of had this realization. I was like, I might have to put them down sometimes for a few minutes to put together some food so that I can eat. And they might cry for a few minutes and it doesn't make me a bad mom. And like, yes, I tried baby carriers, and for some reason in those early days, I tried multiple different carriers. They didn't always work. Like, and also that very quickly got to a point where they were too heavy to carry them both. And even my husband was like, my back's hurting. But anyway, there's so many different things. And again, this is another thing I want to point out, is that different things work for different moms. I had another, I think I like kind of phrase this differently. Basically, like, there's a lot of different types of moms, and it's not a right or wrong thing. Like, and this is what I've kind of realized is, like, as you go along in your parenting, which again, what the heck do I know? My twins are 15 months, so I'm not like this expert, but this is just a small thing I feel like I've learned so far, is like, all these different moms are out there. Everyone has, you know, different methods of sleep and feeding and, you know, baby wearing and cloth diapering or regular diapering or formula or breastfeeding or a combination of both. There's so many different approaches. And there's people out there that have very strong opinions about their approach being the right one. And I just want to say, like, if you're feeling guilty, you feel like someone's judging you because maybe you have a different approach, like, that is perfectly okay. That they have their way and you have yours. Obviously, if it's harming the child, you know, no one's gonna argue that that's right. But there's just certain things that are objectively, neither of them is right or wrong. And some people seem to act like this is the only way to do it and this is the right way. And I just wanna say to a new mom that you will find what works for you, and it's okay if it's not the same as other moms. Like, they are doing what works for them, and that's great. And you're gonna find what works for you, and that's great. And you will only discover that on your own through trial and error. I always would ask like a million people for advice on things, and some things would work and some things wouldn't. And some people would swear by things and be like, oh, this worked for our child. And I would try it and I'm like, that's not working for mine. Like, and it's just true what they say, every child is different. So I just want to empower you, like, it's okay to do things your own way, figure it out, and to not feel like you have to live up to some other mom's standard, because there's just so many opinions out there and it can get really, really overwhelming. And a side note, I remember I watched a Brene Brown talk and she had said, people tend to judge others on things that they personally have a lot of shame about. And she actually mentioned parenting as one of the things. And I was like, oh, that's so true. And I was thinking about it and I was like, I feel like, and I will say I'm not perfect as well. I've definitely been quick to judge other parents at times, but I always end up regretting it because I'm like, it just doesn't make sense to not give grace to people when parenting can be such a hard thing. And I mean, it really is challenging and you're really trying your best. So I just want to say, like, the more confident you become, the less you feel the need to judge others and like their approach, because there's truly so many different ways you can do it. And we all want to have happy, healthy kids. And there's just a lot of different ways you can get to that destination. So I just want to put that out there that you got this, you're going to figure it out, you're going to do your own thing, and you're going to gain confidence. It's all going to work out. You got this. Let's see, what else did I write down? Oh, I wanted to share this quote that my therapist said, and I was like, this is such a great quote. So I early on was just like struggling so much in my postpartum days, and I talked to my therapist and she said to me this quote, and I will always remember this, and this has guided me through my parenthood. She said, there's no such thing as a perfect mom, but you can be a great mom, and great moms model imperfection. Oof. Oh, I literally got chills just saying it. I have said that to myself over and over again the past 15 months. Like, I will never be a perfect mom, as much as I really want to be a perfect mom, and I'm scared like that my imperfections are going to ruin my sons, but that's just not true. Like, Every single mom is imperfect, but you can still be a great mom and just model imperfection and show your kids it's okay. I'm not perfect, and that's totally fine because I'm a human being, and it's totally normal as a human being to have imperfections. So I just think that's one of the biggest things is like taking the pressure off of yourself and realizing like every single parent comes into this with no prior experience. Like every single parent has their first time where they're just like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. There's so many different things, and you're gonna figure it out, and it's totally great and amazing to be imperfect along the way. It's just part of the thing. So I wanted to close this and share 2 poems that I wrote about motherhood. I wrote these, so let me see, I have the dates. I always date my poetry. Oh shoot, I deleted the date when I copied and pasted it, dang it. Okay, well, I wrote these very early in my postpartum days, like within the first like month or 2. And the first one is kind of highlighting like the harder parts, and the second one is kind of highlighting like that feeling of confidence and hope. So hopefully these poems can kind of give you guys a little bit of a picture of like my experience and maybe give you a little bit of encouragement for yours as you're in it or preparing for it. Okay, this first poem is called I See You. I see you there, milk-stained t-shirt, tired eyes, messy hair, purple lightning bolts on your thighs, soft, wrinkled, stretched out belly. I see you there. In the early morning, rocking and soothing. In the late morning, washing and folding laundry. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional already. In the midday, yawning, eyes struggling to stay open. In the evening, searching for patience in between high-pitched screaming and painful fussing. And I see you there the most. Late at night, feeding and shushing. This is when you feel the most alone. A loneliness that pierces. This is when time stops and slows. You look down at the helpless little face beneath you. You are his source of nourishment. And even in your exhaustion and delirium, you can't stop. You have to provide. Your body aches, muscles sore. You love this little face so much it hurts. Your body and soul pouring out every drop until you feel utterly spent and empty. Your head is dizzy and scattered, the days mixed up. You can't remember things like makeup and calendar events and lunches and coffee dates. You used to be someone, but that seems so long ago. You used to plan your days freely. Now every hour is spent, carefully accounted for what feels like the next forever. When will you feel free again? When will you sleep? When will you stop crying? It is all so heavy. The heaviest part being the sadness that weighs on you, because all you want is to feel the magic and joy of this season. That's what all the photographs and advertisements told you. Motherhood, baby snuggles, and newborn bliss. But you feel so lost in all of this. Guilty, ungrateful, overwhelmed, exhausted, stretched thin, about to break. Who am I in all of this? And when will I feel like me again? Please, someone see me. Please, someone tell me that I am not alone. So that is the first poem. Also, I didn't mention this and I meant to, but I struggled a lot with postpartum depression and anxiety in the beginning, and that was kind of what this poem was about, was just feeling like very in the trenches of like the postpartum anxiety and depression. So the next poem I called A Letter to the New Mom. And this poem I wrote a little further along. I want to say that I was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 months into parenthood. And I had a friend that had just had a baby, and I was actually thinking of her, but really I was thinking of her, but I was really talking to myself in those early days. So this is sort of like what I ended up learning and like in that early part and sort of reflecting back on it. So this is A Letter to the New Mom. My advice to you, surrender to it all. Let the wave of motherhood crash over you and take it all in. The first time your baby smiles, the sleepless nights that sometimes feel lonely, the triumphs, the hardships, it is all good. I won't be the one to gloss over how difficult this journey is. For me, it has been the hardest thing. But from where I stand over 120 days in, I can confidently say how good it is. Motherhood will bring you to your knees. It will make you weep. It scrapes away our selfishness bit by bit. You will find divine strength in you to push past intense exhaustion and bottomless emotion. You will feel close to God at times, and at times far away. It will not be easy, but it will change you in the best way. You will look back and think, who was I before? because the girl of the past is no more. Of course, you'll carry bits of her, woven into your spirit forever like strands of gold. But in her place will stand someone new, someone who has brought forth life into this world. It changes you forever. No one can explain it, but once you're here, you will feel it. And I promise you, the blur of those first days will subside. And one morning, you will find yourself driving on the freeway. You will think of your child, and you will weep from somewhere deep within. It will be the greatest joy and the most overwhelming love you've ever felt. You will feel a sense of pride because look how far you've come. So anyway, I just wanted to wrap up and say, from 15 months into it, if you're in the beginning, I know how hard it is, and I'm there with you, and I'm cheering for you, and it is all gonna get better every single month. It's gonna get a little bit easier. You're gonna find your confidence, you're gonna find your rhythm, and you are a great mom, and you don't have to be perfect to be a great mom. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I will see you in the next one. I think I hear someone waking up. All right, bye guys.